Hey, it's Johnny Jet. Welcome back to my podcast YouTube channel. And today we have Seth Kubersky, who is the author of Universal Orlando 2021. But you're also written, this is the unofficial guide, by the way. And you've also written the for Walt Disney World unofficial guide, as well as the unofficial guide to Las Vegas and Disneyland too.
Absolutely.
Hey,
Yeah,
you
thanks
get
for name
around.
checking all of those. Thank you so much for having me on.
Hey, my pleasure. Thanks for taking the time. So, so where do you live, by the way?
I'm here in Orlando, Florida. It was winter last week. Today it's summer again. It'll probably be fall tomorrow. So I'm right here in the home of all the theme parks, so I can be here full time for the unofficial guide to Universal Orlando.
So, how many times have you been to Universal Orlando?
I
Eh,
stopped counting a long time ago. I can tell you I'm there in the parks an average of 2 to 3 days a week.
wow. So, I assume you have the yearly pass, or do they give you some
Oh yeah.
special?
Oh no, for the unofficial guides, we do not accept anything special, any kind of freebies from the park. We buy our tickets. I pay for the top of the line annual pass because I make full use of it. But we go in just like regular customers. We pay ourselves so that the parks are not treating us when
And
we
how
go
much is
in.
that top of the line pass, and what does it do for you?
Well, I just renewed mine for with tax about 560 something bucks for the year. But actually, right now they're giving an extra 3 months free, so that works out to 15 months. It's a lot of money, but it's actually significantly cheaper than the equivalent Disney pass.
Yeah,
And
go one day is like $100, isn't it?
much more than that. If you want a one day ticket to see both parks, you want to see both parks because you got to see both Harry Potter sides. That's going to cost you about $180
Oh my
for
goodness, so
one day
that's
right
a
now.
bargain. Five
Yeah, so
something.
so for under 600 bucks for the year, I get unlimited visits 365 days a year. I get free parking. I get all sorts of discounts at food and hotels, even things like a free ticket to their Halloween Horror Nights when that's
Oh,
happening in the fall. So if you take advantage of it, the annual passes, even if you get the basic level annual pass, it pays for itself after about 4 visits.
that's is that why the parks are always so crowded? Because it's mostly locals.
Well, that's especially what we have right now. Since the parks reopened during the pandemics, we've been seeing upwards of 50% or more of people are just locals who are coming in. And the remainder are people who are driving in, from a few hours away or, taking a day trip. We don't have the international tourism actually, obviously, right now. And, people traveling across the country is a lot less than it was. So it's the Orlando residents, the Florida residents who are really taking up the slack. And they've been giving a lot of great Florida resident discounts to help encourage that.
Have they? And so, has the park changed drastically since last year or year before?
It's a very different experience, and I'll to be brutally honest, if this is going to be your once in a lifetime only trip to Orlando for the foreseeable future, put it off till 2022 or so.
Really?
Because right now it's not the 100% experience. You're missing out on a lot of things that people expect from a Florida theme park, like the parades, like the fireworks, like being able to hug the characters. So, if you want to have those kind of things, you're going to have to wait a little while longer.
And
But average wait times are way down. The employees seem happier than ever to be at work. um, and the parks have really been going all out with special events to try to make it worth the while of the people who are still coming.
that's great to hear. And do they do a good job with people wearing masks? Do you have to wear a mask, or I know Florida is kind of on a different level?
Florida is very much we're kind of a wild west here, but the parks themselves are definitely the safest places that I feel outside of my own home. I definitely feel a lot safer visiting one of the theme parks than I do the local grocery store
Do you?
because they have put people out in force to enforce the rules. On almost every corner, you're going to see someone with a little sign reminding people to wear masks. Gently encouraging people, and if people don't take gentle encouragement, they will throw people out of the parks. Most private businesses, they just, really don't do anything to force people to do it. But, if you've paid $180 to get in for the day, you're probably not going to argue. You're going to wear the mask.
Yeah. So have you seen them throw people out, or you just heard about it, or?
I've seen a few confrontations. Definitely seen stuff going viral on social media. It's a very, very tiny percentage. The 99.44% of people are really compliant, and all they need is a gentle reminder. The biggest trouble is people are still used to being able to walk around and drinking and eating. And now they're very serious about, if you want to eat that popcorn, you're going to sit down on a bench away from other people and then put your mask back on when you're done.
Wow.
And that's a culture people aren't used to. People are used to strolling around, sipping on a drink.
Right.
And so that's one thing that requires a little reminder. But, everyone, I think, wants to be able to have this. We don't want to be shut down like the California parks are. The people running the parks, the people working in the parks, the people visiting the parks want them to stay open. So they're doing their best to comply with the rules.
That's great to hear. And you know what? In Europe, a lot of countries, it's culturally, it's rude to
Yeah.
walk and eat. And
Oh,
so,
and you'd never do that in an Asian park. Like if you went to Universal Japan, you wouldn't walk around eating a churro.
right.
So maybe it's just time for Americans to get with that program.
I agree. I mean, so how many times have you been to Disneyland? You live in Orlando, so how many times you come out to California?
I come out several times a year, and I usually stay a week or more each time. Plus, the unofficial guide also has other people on staff who are out there at the Disney parks in California in order to keep us updated. Obviously, right now there's nothing happening in Disneyland. Our 2021 Disneyland book is kind of on hiatus. We did a lot of work on it, and then everything kind of went on pause. But as soon as the parks there announce a reopening date and we're able to get out there and check them out in person, we'll be working on that Disneyland book.
And so does your pass for Walt Disney World work for Walt Disneyland?
I did at one point have the bi-coastal park pass. They had a thing called a Premier Pass, which was valid at both Florida and California parks. Extremely expensive.
Okay.
They make you pay for that one. But now there is no Disneyland annual pass program whatsoever. I am desperately clinging to my last ever Disneyland annual pass as a memento. It's a big cultural change. There's 1 million people in Southern California who have grown up
Right.
having a Disneyland annual pass as a rite of passage, a major part of people's social lives. And we're just going to have to wait and see what Disney cooks up to replace that annual pass system.
But as someone who only goes a couple times a year or once a year,
You're going to be the
accurate?
one to benefit from the elimination of the annual pass
Yeah, because
system, for sure.
I mean, I checked out one of those calendars where they say,
Mhm.
what were the slow days. I went on the slowest day of the year, and
The
it was
slowest
still
day of the
packed.
year, it was like the slowest day of the year was like super busy day 10 years ago. And a lot of that was because especially when they made the annual passes have monthly payments instead of having to buy them all in one big chunk, that really encouraged a lot of people to, invest in that as their just, their after work social life. You get off work at 5 and you head over to Disneyland.
I see.
And that's not going to be around, at least for quite a while.
So do you think the parks will be less crowded in the future because of this, or do you think they're going to just
well, I
start it back up?
100% when they reopen, it will be with limited capacity. And I'm sure California will be much stricter about setting capacity limits than Florida has been. Even here in Florida, you're looking at an average of 35% of their maximum capacity.
Is it they're down that low? So
Yeah.
can you feel the
Yeah.
difference? I mean, you said the lines are shorter.
It's wait times are shorter, but lines are much longer. Psychologically, the parks often feel more busy because of social distancing is taking a queue line that, formerly would have squeezed into a few switchbacks, and now it's snaking all the way outdoors because people are spaced out every 6 feet.
I see.
So the actual time you're going to wait for a ride is a lot shorter than it would have been if you'd come a year ago, but that line is going to look a lot more intimidating.
So what's the most popular ride at Universal Orlando? Is it the Harry Potter?
Oh, Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure by far right now. It's the new roller coaster that opened last year. And actually, sorry, we're in 2021 now, so it opened in 2019. We just skipping over 2020.
Yeah.
So it's been operating for about a year, and it's still definitely getting the longest lines in the park. When it first opened, opening day, I waited 7.5 hours for that one. I'm happy to report that the average wait times now are well under an hour for that.
Oh, that's good.
And it's definitely worth it because it's one of those combinations of a family-friendly dark ride with detailed animatronics and sets and special effects, but it's also a high-speed roller coaster with the most launches of any roller coaster in the world. Goes backwards, it drops in the dark, it's got all sorts of surprises, and it's one of those rides that people keep coming back to over and over and over again.
And how many times you've been on that ride?
Again, I've lost count, but I have to get that one in at least once a week.
And so what's the best advice to get on it? Right when the park opens and just make a beeline to it, or
Well, that's what a lot of people tend to do. Unfortunately, if you are not eligible for early entry, which is offered to people who are staying at their on-site hotels, by the time the park opens to the regular guests, it's already got a long line in the morning. So the best time to hit it is actually right around lunchtime, between noon and 1. Uh, the people who lined up early have all pretty much burned through it, and a lot of people are lining up to eat. And so every day it seems to have a little drop in its wait time, or between noon and 1. And then my personal favorite is to get into line about an hour before the park closes, because it is just special after dark. Riding it in the daytime is great, but riding it after sunset is just amazing.
so once you're in line, do they let you go through even if the park closes, or
Absolutely. On rare occasions, they may close off an attractions queue before the park closes, but normally you can step into an attraction queue right up to the minute the park closes, and as long as you're through that door, they'll let you ride. Many nights they'll keep the ride running for up to an hour after the official closing, just to get through everyone who's in the queue.
and so does that advice about going at lunchtime work for almost every ride or just this one?
Not at every ride. We actually, in the book, we list the best times to visit each attraction. For a lot of them, for the most part, it's the earlier the better. But there are some sort of hidden dips depending on things like water rides have different kind of patterns depending on, people want to ride them during the hottest part of the day. And certain attractions like Hagrid's are much better after dark. So, we have touring plans in the book that sort of chart you the best way to most efficiently experience them all.
Gotcha. So, besides buying this book, what is
Yes.
your best advice for a first time visitor to Universal Orlando and actually Walt Disneyland and Walt Disney World?
Um, the best advice, no matter what theme park you are ever visiting, is to buy your tickets before you show up. Never waste time buying tickets at a turnstile, and always aim to arrive at the park an hour or so before the official opening time, because the first few minutes that a theme park is open is golden. You can often ride as many attractions in the first half hour or hour as you would in the next 3 hours.
Right.
So early bird gets the worm, and specifically at Universal, there are amazing perks for staying at their on-site hotels. They're well run. They're operated by Lowe's, so they're very high quality. Um, and they include things like free front of the line express passes, so you can skip the lines for most of the attractions if you're staying at one of the top hotels. If you do the math, it's actually cheaper to stay on site than it is to stay off site and buy one of those passes.
Sorry, I had to mute it. My sister started coughing. Um, I lost my train of thought, but it'll come back to me. What's your least favorite ride at any of these parks? I mean, I guess you don't do the little kitty rides.
I've got a soft spot for some kiddie rides. I love a good, Dumbo or, little kiddie coaster. I'd say the worst attraction operating at any Orlando theme park right now is Fast and the Furious Supercharged. It is based on the Vin Diesel movie series, but it is neither fast nor furious.
Okay.
It's a very sad simulator ride with computer graphics that look like they came off of a PlayStation, and just it's really only value is to have a few beers and go and mock it like Mystery Science Theater 3000.
So
That's its only value.
are you a roller coaster junkie? I mean, do you love roller
I
coasters?
I love. I'm not the kind of person who counts every credit. I like coasters that have, pacing and innovation, but not necessarily are trying to shake my brain out
Gotcha.
of my skull. So I love the Hulk. Hagrid's right now is my favorite coaster. Not a big fan of the Hollywood Rib Pride rocket that Universal has because that one shakes you side to side. But the Velocicoaster that they're building in Jurassic Park, I think that's going to be a world beater. I think
Is it?
you're going to see that come shoot to the top of a lot of people's top 10 roller coaster lists.
And have you been to other theme parks in Asia and Europe?
I've done Europe and been to like Disneyland in Paris, and one of my favorite parks in the world, Efteling. Fantastic park.
Where's that?
Efteling is in the Netherlands,
Okay.
and it's older than Disneyland, and it is based on a lot of the same Disney fairy tales, but the creepy European version of it, the Grimm's fairy tale version, with all the blood and guts. Uh, Great park, great rides. I haven't made out to Asia yet, but that new Super Nintendo World in Osaka and also Shanghai are definitely on my bucket list.
And how does Disneyland Paris compare to?
Disneyland Paris is the most beautiful Disney park with the worst maintenance and upkeep.
Wow.
It does not hold up well in France's hard winters, and it has not gotten the tender loving care of the other parks over the years. It has
I
some
see.
wonderful, unique attractions, and there's a lot of great stuff about it, but uh, I would say if you are going to Paris, spend more time in the real Paris and less time in the Disney Paris.
I love your brutal, honest answer. Which hotel do you recommend for people at Universal Orlando?
Oh, they've got a wide range of price points. If money is no object, the Portofino Bay is just gorgeous. It includes all of the perks, has fantastic restaurants, and you can even take a boat to the parks. If you're on a budget, look into the Cabana Bay. It's themed to something I love, which is 60s mid-century modern. So it's very retro. It's even got a lazy river running around the pool, and it's walking distance to the Volcano Bay water park.
Couple more questions for you. Favorite month to go and favorite day of the week?
Ooh. Um, Month, it is hard to beat the very end of August or early September. Schools in Florida go back to school in early August. So while you might still be out of session if you're from up north or out west. Here in Florida, the local attendance drops way down towards the end of August. And the weather isn't quite cooled off yet, but it's not as bad as July. And they start holding Halloween events in the theme parks. And that's my favorite time of the year. Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Orlando. If you're into haunted houses, you can't beat it. It's rated over and over again the top Halloween event in the world.
Wow.
And for the kids, they've got great Halloween events at SeaWorld and Disney also.
And what day of the week is best to go to avoid crowds? Tuesday, Wednesday?
There used to be a good rule of thumb that's, Sunday, Monday was good based on people's travel patterns, but the pandemic blew all that out of the water. The most important thing to know is Saturday and Sunday are busy, busy, busy right now because everyone has the weekend off and is passes. The best days are probably Tuesday and Wednesday, but that can vary.
Okay, good. And how about a place to see a calendar where, what days of the week are good? Is there a website you
Yeah,
recommend?
our sister website, touringplans.com. We have the most scientific calendar that is available on the web. We have been gathering data for decades. And you can get a sample of the calendar online. And you can also, if you've purchased our book, you can get a subscription to our website for a discount.
Okay, good. And how much is a subscription, by the way?
It is for the Universal book, it is less than $10 to subscribe to the website data. For the Disney books, it's less than $20. We like to say it's less than lunch at one of the theme parks.
That's good.
And it's
And my
for a
last question
year.
about
For
the
a year.
book,
Yes.
since it's 2021, do you cover COVID in here?
Absolutely. Thank you for asking about that. We are actually the first printed guidebook we know of that really focuses on COVID. There's an entire new special chapter right at the front of the book that details all the changes you need to know about. And then throughout the book, we actually have a little COVID cartoon character. He's a cute little guy with a mask, and he highlights all of the tips that you need to know about how COVID has affected Universal Orlando.
Great. Well, Seth, I appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you so much for letting me talk to your viewers. This is great.
All right. Well, hopefully I'll see you in Orlando, but maybe not on that crazy roller coaster. But
yeah, trust me, when that Velocicoaster opens, everyone's going to want to get on that one.
I'll see you I'll see you on the Dumbo one.
For sure.
All right, Seth. Take care. Thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.